Greetings and salutations. Welcome to another episode of 365 Days of Gaming. I appreciate you taking our time to check out this video. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Greatly appreciate it. So thank you in advance. Let's get into it. Now, I want to do something a little different for this episode. I want to show you not just necessarily a certain game, but I want to kind of reflect on a certain time. So, sports games have always been a big part of my gaming journey. And at one point, there were two sports football franchises like battling it out for video game supremacy, and it culminated in like the best year of football gaming that we ever had, and we've never reached it since. So I want to kind of reflect back on that time. So we're going to look at both ESPN NFL Football 2K5 as well as Madden 2005. Now, this is not a video to compare the two to say which one is better and all of those things, man. We don't have time to look back on these times with, trying to review and critique everything. This is about celebration. So I just want to show you how at one point we had two franchises battling it out and the amazing games that we got from both companies. Because I don't play Madden anymore, but I'm not a fool, and I'm not going to say that at one point we weren't heavy on Madden, because we all were, And the 2005 edition stuck out to me because of all of the innovations they had kind of leading into 2005 with the Michael Vick version, where you got the quarterbacks that can scramble and all of the emphasis on all the stats meaning, so many things. And then they added the hit stick and playmaker feature in the 2005 version. And at first it was just like, oh, you can hit people really hard. But then you started realizing all the controls and stuff that you had of all of your players pre-play, changing the individuals to drop back into coverage, or if you had a receiver, changing the route that they went on. And, this was and it also was easy for people to play. So when people hear about simulation football, I always hear people talk about the fact that anybody can do anything, or you can't stop anything. And it was with these games, it was equally difficult to perform offense and defense, which meant that if you were good, you could learn how to run defenses to stop certain things. You could run certain offenses to counteract certain defenses, and it was football, chess match. You got to outthink your opponent. You got to execute all those good things, right? And same thing that applied with both of the football games. And, they were focusing on presentation. The players started looking like actual players. So this is where everybody started to get very critical of the little things, because of all of the, the presentation, the gameplay, the engines and all of that stuff started being really good. And, once all the surface level stuff is pretty much worked out, we got to start looking at the nitty gritty. But I felt like during this time, we couldn't go wrong. If you like football, just play a football game. The other crazy thing is that the ESPN football and basketball games were $20 off top. So it's a little easier for somebody to pick up the ESPN football versus the Madden, which was $49.99 starting off. But just as many people in my neighborhood had Madden as people who had 2K. Really, 2K was still trying to build itself up, because it was still primarily seen as a, port over from the Dreamcast era, which was not finally looked on by people. So it seemed like the game of the failed console, right? But they were trying their best. They were doing a lot of innovative things. Before there was the My Player, there was the 2K first person mode of your character and all of that stuff. So it was a lot of innovative things going on. And both of them started putting in online play, which I didn't know anybody who played online. I saw one of my friends try one time and got cooked, and I was like, oh, that's enough for me. I don't need people trying to exploit whatever exploits were in the game. I just wanted to have fun. And these games were incredibly fun. As a person who was starting to figure out how to really watch football and how to really watch sports, more so than just trying to look at my favorite player on the field the whole time, these games were very instrumental in helping us kind of break down football. So again, I didn't want to do what I'm sure too many people have done, which is try to tell you how more technical sound 2K was. I will say, playing both of them again, 2K's running always had this sort of kind of slowness to it. And I don't know if that's necessarily a good or bad thing, but there was always a distinct feel. You felt more grounded in 2K. And sometimes that's great. You know, if you want to be the number one super football player, then you probably want to get it as realistic as possible. But you know, realism is always not the greatest attribute for even sports games, right? It's got to be some level of fun. And let me tell you, hit sticking people on Madden always has been and always will be fun. So I mean, it was like there was no bad choice. I enjoyed both of these games. I wish we would have continued to see what this level of competition could have pushed both series to be. You know, eventually we had the same issue with the NBA, but not so much as the same as, you know, with like them outright buying the license. But, you know, eventually Madden Live kind of fell by the wayside due to EA shenanigans. And I'm a fan of competition, so I want the best to be out there competing, and that includes sports franchises as far as video games. So wanted to just kind of show that like we had it really good at one point, and hopefully at some point later on we get that level of competition and I can go back to enjoying, you know, football games with knowing there's an alternative if I'm not enjoying one or the other. I just want choices. But I'm sure you'll have some thoughts and comments on these games, you know, favorite franchises, things you miss. You know, you might throw some EA or some 2K hate out there, and I understand. This is a judgment-free comment zone. But I appreciate you checking out the video. Y'all have fun. Y'all be safe. Peace.